What's going on, everyone? Cannabis Express 420 here. Today we're going to be talking about possibly one of the most important things to know when you're growing cannabis, which is when are you going to flower? When is a good time to start flowering? What are the criteria that are going to get you what you want in the flower stage? What's going to get you what you desire? What's going to get you really happy? And honestly just impressed with your result. And also healthy flower. We all want it. It's desirable, high quality, healthy, potent flower is what we all strive for. It's at least what I strive for, and you know what? I want it for you too, because it's truly an amazing thing. So let's get right into it. When do you start flower? The first thing is you need to know the sex of the cannabis plant you are dealing with, because when you send your plant into flower, you want to get flower out of it, right? Like that's the entire goal, and you don't want to mess that up. Well, when it comes to cannabis plants, they can be either male or female. If you've been growing a long time, you already know that. If you're a new grower, you might not know. They can be either male or female, and if you flower out the wrong plant, you're gonna get the wrong product. You will get pollen instead of flower, and then you will cry yourself to sleep for many months waiting for your plant to grow. The sex you're looking for when you're looking for flower is going to be a female cannabis plant. It's what we all really desire, unless you're deciding to breed. But also, if you're breeding and you want feminized seeds, there's an entirely different process for that. So go look that up, because I'm not a breeding expert. But unless you're breeding, we are only going to want female cannabis plants. They are going to grow those white hairs. They're going to grow the trichomes that are going to catch the pollen, theoretically, to breed and then create the next generation of plants when that generation dies. So we're going to be looking for the female cannabis plant, which is going to be what we get the flower from. And male cannabis plants are going to be growing pollen sacs, and those will mature and grow up until like week 5 or 6, and then they will open up and disperse with enough time, hopefully, for the female cannabis plants to mature those seeds, germinate, or not germinate, fertilize them? Yeah, it'll give the plant time to mature the seeds, so then they can be germinated come the springtime. But we don't want the pollen sacs. But the good news is, if you accidentally put a male plant into the flower room, you have a grace period for like 3 weeks or 4 weeks that you will be able to safely take that plant out of the room without causing damage. Just don't cut it down to risk busting those pollen sacs open. Just pick it up, bring it out, do what you will with it, use it for making clothing if you have some kind of technology to do that, use it for shakes, whatever you need it, very healthy. Or you can just simply throw the plant away and be done with it if you don't want to go through the extra trouble of doing other things. The second sign is that it looks like it's going to yield properly. Everyone's looking for different sized plants. Everyone wants a different type of yield from their plants. Some people only want to grow 2 ounces. Some people want to grow pounds every single time from every single plant. It really depends on how much you smoke, how much you grow, and your personal life, personal factors. And if you aren't getting a high enough yield from your plants, there are plenty of things you can do, like vegging longer, topping, super cropping, low stress training, scrog nets, more intense lights, better environment for that specific cultivar, all types of things that you can do to make that plant perform better. And those are all things that you can do in about a week or 2, and then you will exponentially change your plant to hopefully get a lot more yield out of it, or at least get a lot more bud sites. And by the way, I'll put a video down in the description below on how to identify bud sites, so you know exactly how many buds you are going to get if you want to go through and count them all. But you can probably get a rough estimate, and if you know the genetics, you'll know what the buds are going to look like. And when you do these trainings, you want to give your plant a good couple of days to a week to recover, because you do want that first day of flower to have them start focusing on their stretching and start focusing on their bud production. We don't want any recovery time. Of course, you can do a little bit of low stress training, but if you're doing super cropping or topping or transplanting, anything that's relatively high stress that your plant could show signs of stress from, make sure you give it that grace period, make sure it's bouncing back and being healthy, and then you can flip it into flower and it will be very healthy. And when you're in the beginning of flower, you can do low stress training to the top of the plant to give it a little bit of extra strength to hold up those buds. But keep in mind, when it comes to the stretch, your plant will be stretching about 2 to 3 times its size. Now, not all cultivars stretch, but it is a matter of degree. And if you don't have the room to grow a plant that's 3 times the size your plant is now, or 2 times the size your plant is now, maybe you need to do a little bit of chopping of that plant. And don't worry, as long as you have those sites where the shoots can grow, your plant will grow back. But again, it's going to need a recovery period for that. But keep that in mind. But if you have an indica dominant genetic, you aren't going to have to worry about the stretch so much. It's more in the sativa side of things, but do be aware that your plant is going to stretch in those first couple of weeks. And in nature, this is to make sure that they are high enough to get as much pollen as possible to make as many children as possible so that they can go on and be strong in their next generation. Now, the next sign is when you are ready to get high in 6 months. Just kidding, but not really. The third thing is actually possibly the most important thing. If you don't focus on the other 2 signs, this one is going to be the one you're going to want to tune in. This is the most important thing that you're going to need. And is your environment consistent and controllable? It's going to be very important. You're going to want to make sure your temperature, your night and day temps are within an appropriate range. You can look those up pretty simply. I'm sure I'll do a video on that if I haven't already, on what temperatures your day and night should be in the flower stage. If you have reliable equipment, so night and day temps are consistent and reliable, your equipment's reliable, your humidity is controlled. Those are all going to be extremely important when it comes to going into the flower stage. The last thing you want is to have a fan go out overnight, your dehumidifier to stop working, your humidifier to stop working if you need one, your air conditioner or your heater to stop working, and completely ruin everything you have up to this point. Now, things do happen like blackouts and such, but if you invest in things like generators, which I know a lot of people don't have the money for, but if you invest in a generator as a piece of grow equipment to make sure everything stays up to par, and you invest in quality equipment, which you can get at spider-farmer.com and use promo code CE423P to save a little bit off at checkout. Now, the reality of the situation in the flower stage is that it is very easy to turn 3 to 4, maybe 5 or 6 months of progress into absolutely nothing. That is why you need to invest in the equipment. You need to make sure everything is up to snuff. You need to make sure things are reliable. You need to make sure yourself is reliable, because you are one of the most important pieces of growing equipment in your garden, and no one else can take that from you. But you're going to want to invest in quality lighting, a robust humidifier or dehumidifier. You're going to want to have proper air circulation. All of these things are going to stop you from facing the same problems I have in the past, from losing plants to mold or mildew or rot, whatever. All of those types of things, or even pests, because if pests are not safe in the environment because it's too windy for them or it smells like essential oils, it's going to be very hard for them to stick around. But I will always preach environment every single time, because it's the one thing that can turn ditch weed into pretty good weed. So with that, I will see you guys next time. Thank you very much.